Welcome to the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Miley, an IFS-informed certified trauma recovery coach. This show features interviews from survivors all over the world as they share their impactful story of thriving in their post-traumatic growth. We explore resources, tools, and coping skills to support the trauma survivor community. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Miley. I have with us today Ardeshir Mehran, and he is here as far from a typical psychologist, as he says of himself. He is a trailblazer, a visionary in his field. He has an advanced degree from Columbia University, and he has paved the way for this groundbreaking theory that we're going to talk about today, his new book called You Are Not Depressed, You Are Unfinished. He has a 30-year career, and Dr. Mehran has not only guided high-achieving individuals, but also delved deeply into the intricate landscapes of depression and anxiety. He has a pragmatic approach that diverges from conventional therapies, really focusing on result-oriented strategies that manifest tangible transformation. His journey is one with a great impact, with his roots deeply ingrained in research and a fervent passion for real life change, which you'll be able to sense here from him. He's really shaping the narrative of emotional well-being, offering practical solutions to those in pursuit of them. So Ardeshir, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great to have you on. You've become a speaker and an author, and you've taken this whole new approach to psychology. How did you get here today? How did you land here in this journey?
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. And great to be with you and with your listeners. One takeaway before I answer that question is that our emotional struggles, can be healed rather quickly with lasting results, and it's feasible for all of us. And the reason we haven't done it, being a psychologist myself, is because we've been chasing the symptoms. There's a wisdom in how humans and our living organizations are designed. Once you know the design, we can quickly go to the original design that it went off track, bring restoration, and what you will see that depression, anxiety, PTSD, you name it, they shift because those all signals of a system that is imbalanced. Go to the base. How I get to this state, because I was hurting a lot. So I grew up as a kid, family of six, and I didn't know that. I only realized that when I went to graduate school was mom was depressed, dad was depressed, six of us, we were all hurting. There was a lot of violence, physical, verbal violence, and all sort of emotional burden that as a kid, as a human being, you learn how to cope and be resilient and go forward. But deep down, I was searching for something. So all through my school, I was known as a curious George. Teachers, either they hated me, said, you ask a lot of questions, be quiet. Teachers, professors, or they loved me because I was after a truth, after answers. And so when I went to Columbia, got my doctorate, I triple majored. And I have 4 masters. I don't know how many certifications. I can do therapy in different modality. I was looking for answer, and I didn't find it. So I gave up being a therapist. I went to corporate environment. Became a corporate executive in charge of operations, transformation, culture change. But the work followed me. So what happened very quickly, I became the confident to senior level high achieving professionals. And I started to research that more. Then what I saw through research documented that people who are high achievers, CEOs, executives, high performers, founders, in fact, they have the higher rate at 2 to 3 times higher than average population, depression, anxiety, bipolar, the PTSD, ADHD, and suicidal the attempts or actually suicide, including all sort of physical ailments, that they've come to tolerate that. And I was mystified. Why is that? Some of the best in our society are suffering in private. From the outside, they look great. I was one of them. I was called the life of the party. I was keep getting promoted, good wealth, lived in a good part of the country. I live right outside San Francisco. What people didn't realize deep down, when I was going to bed at night, I was asking God, take me out. I have nothing left. And I'd given up from psychology, that psychology heals me. I learned a lot of theory and I felt they're not working. What had happened, I started to just pay attention. And I learned that I was paying attention all throughout me growing up. Mom, when is depressed, has a certain look. When she's anxious, when she gets triggered, when she screams, there's something happens. There's an element to her body. The shakes she had, the cries she had, all the way to patients in Bellevue that I was working with them. I was in mid-20, didn't know much about life.
Wow.
But I was seeing them when they tell their stories, they tell their stories with their bodies, tears, the heart rate, you see their skin, the color, like in the throwing up. And I was thinking they're telling stories that they are not verbal stories. So I didn't know, but I started to, even at that time, ask different questions. What are you sensing? What's coming up for you? What are you experiencing instead of how are you feeling? So I was asking them about their whole experience.
Yeah.
So they were sharing deeper work. They're talking about traumas, and I had no idea what to do with it because I wasn't trained. I was trained to you do organize it, conscious, subconscious, etc. So all of this started to coalesce for me about 12 years ago and led to the writing of my book that actually we as clinicians, we are not solving the right problem. People are complex.
Yeah.
People are not complicated. If you get to fundamentals, we can quickly bring people back to healing, which is right there in front of us. And it's been there all throughout the ages.
Wow. What a journey. You've definitely been on a journey. You're at Bellevue going off of your protocols to try to start asking questions. I hear a lot of curiosity really being key here for that.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. So you have your book that's titled You're Not Depressed, You Are Unfinished.
Yes.
What does that mean? What when you say that?
Thank you. So what I learned that there's a difference between anxiety and depression.
Mm,
They feed off of each other. They are not the same. They feel different in the body. They're created different things.
yeah.
But I learned going back to mom and Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital that when people are depressed,
Mm,
depression at its core is a sense of grieving, sense
mm,
of disconnection, sense of loss. You're always depressed about something.
mm,
Depression has three shades. So it's not binary, you have it, you don't have it. Usually there are three shades. One is that depression, there's something happens to you, a job loss, a tragedy, you lose a loved one, you lose a pet. Living in Northern California, fires happen. You like that something happened, and depression at that point is a sense of renewing a new way of being, a new
mm,
way of becoming, that basically what I had was taken away from me.
mm,
And it's the sense of grieving of coming back. So
mm.
that's what I call episodic depression.
Yeah.
The other end, I will get to the middle very soon, is acute and chronic depression. At certain point, depression, when it's not addressed, or
Mm,
chemical imbalance or hormonal um, balance is compromised.
mm,
And that's the time we need proper medication, probably seeing a psychiatrist.
yeah.
And what happens at that point is body is moving toward submission. We're basically mimicking death. This
Mm,
is a time, this space of suicide.
yeah.
That the people, that was me. I was praying to God to take me out because I had nothing left to do and I was holding on. So
Mm,
basically, brain is shutting down. And
mm,
what we know from neurology, those individuals, their body is feeling cold.
mm,
Their gastrointestinal cardiovascular system are shutting down. They're continuously having all sorts of ailments.
yeah.
So they're shutting down, and there's a way to bring them back.
Yeah.
There's a middle of the part,
Mm,
what I call elevated depression. This is about disconnection to certain emotional needs that people, when they experience that, you feel there's something not right for you in life. You're broken. that you feel that you're not put together well, that there are parts of you missing. People actually use those words. When you ask them, tell me more, instead of trying to right away, trying to calm them, soothe them, tell me more. People start to share stories of love they feel they never had, that they feel marginalized. They feel their body, they don't even know their body, that they're consumed with shame and guilt and a sense of, I'm not good. Sense of, I'm just, cannot, I'm nobody in life. Nobody listens to me, or I'm meandering. When you listen to that, there's a story of a person didn't quite get to experience certain consistent emotional needs. So that's the work that I'm bringing in my book, that we humans, throughout the dawn of man, have had 7 emotional needs that nobody's put them together. So as I was healing myself and I was working inside the company, I started to, without telling anybody, start to practice, instead of trying to make people feel better, help them to understand what's missing in your life.
Yeah.
Let's restore that, reconstruct that. And what I would see, people suddenly come alive.
Wow.
People would say that, oh my gosh, I've been tolerating this, a bad relationship, a bad job. There's nothing wrong with me. People would go to restore and reconstruct what was missing. So I've been practicing, testing, validating, researching this, that learned that depression is basically is a roadmap. If you listen to depression and the story we tell ourselves, everything's right there. We can reverse engineering, really reverse engineering to what is being missing for us.
Like an ongoing grief, even if you can't identify the grief without
That's
the
right.
help of
Grief.
someone.
Yeah. So like tell people call me to this day, says that I'm depressed. When I listen to them, and literally I go with my hands, says, dear friend, dear colleague, the reason you're depressed, there's some emotional experiences you did not get to have in life. Either they were violated, they were broken, they were not honored. You never got a chance, somebody showing it to you, that you're not broken. You didn't get to know what you needed to have. These emotional rights, parents don't give it to us.
Right.
Bosses, lovers, managers, etc. We are wired as human beings as elemental as our DNA. Once we know it, our job is to claim them the way that we claim our civic responsibilities. In my book, I talk about that we hold these truths to be self-evident, just like our Constitution. These rights are eternal rights of all of us on this earth.
Yeah. This is what you call your emotional bill of rights, right?
Right, that's right. These are our rights.
Can you share a few of them with us?
That's right. That's right. That's right. There's 7 of them, and usually go in this order as we go through life. Starts with the sense of I belong, that we are all born, start from the first connection with the mother or caregiver, a sense of belonging, a love unconditional, love available, love not being compromised or being shaped by trauma. Sense of I belong. The next one is a sense of I am boundless. We know from the somatic work and trauma work that we are one being, mind, body, spirit. We are integrated beings. Society breaks all of us. And we don't realize emotions, people who've done trauma work, emotions that are in the body, they're not in the brain. Brain doesn't feel anything.
Right.
And yet, many people, especially people, professionals, their body is this mass. They don't even know it. They are not in touch with it. We go see doctor for different parts of that. Is about wholeness of the body with nature, that being in experiencing the world and responding to the world as one being. Next one is that I am complete. The way we do talk therapy, God bless Sigmund Freud, but he basically diverted us for good reasons. That healing by going back about what happened to you back then and there is not helpful. We perpetually live in the moment. Our body, which experiences the world, is always in the moment. Our body has no memory of time. So the work that I do these days with clients is in this very moment. Your entire life is present in this moment.
Yeah.
The sensation. Yeah. So healing happens right now here. The completeness is already here. The narrative is already here. Work with what you have. You're already complete. Next
Mm-hmm.
one is I matter. This is about you. Almost everybody is a part of a group, a tribe, a family, community, a sense of dignity, sense of honor. That when you go to a room, when you go to your place of worship, people turn around and see you, call you by your name,
Yeah.
ask your opinion. There are many people, there are many families, children or members are invisible. Keep quiet, don't say anything, just come and go. But this is about you taking the space of your being. Next one is I make. This is about everybody in this world is doing something. Everybody. Is that your work? Many of us, including me, we do the work because we have to pay the bill. We have mortgage, we have car payment. But deep down, we numb ourselves. Find the thing you're supposed to do.
Right.
And it's not true, says, I don't know what to do. I'm not good at anything. No, actually, you are. You may need to develop new skills, but you are good at something.
Yeah.
Do your thing, and you will be awesome.
Mm.
Next need is I am. It's about your soul voice. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has a conviction. Everybody has an opinion.
Mm.
Is it being shared?
Yeah.
Are you sharing what you believe in? And I see this happen actually to more women than men. When they talk, their voice becomes soft, almost like a young girl, like a teenager. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to be a nice person. That is important, but share what you believe in.
Yeah.
This is the conviction and this is your belief. The
Mm.
final one, there's a statement behind by Maya Angelou on my wall that says, there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story. 8 billion people, 8 billion stories.
Yeah.
What is your story of being here in this life and this time? Know your story. Step into that because then you feel full. You feel I'm here and I'm purposeful. You still have work to do. It doesn't mean suddenly it's nirvana,
Right.
but you step in your truth, and everybody has a truth.
Mm.
These 7 needs, once you know them, they will guide you, they lift you, and then you become almost Teflon based being.
Mm. And do they build on each other? Is
They
is
do.
one more foundational? So it's almost like Mavlov's hierarchy of needs, right? You know,
Yeah, so some of them, like the one I saw, comes to focus around mid-30s, and you look at the rest of your life. But at each point, that's a great question, Sarah. At each point, there is a dynamic between 2 or 3 of them. So people say, oh my gosh, 3 of them, I'm already so busy. Do I need to do also? No, this is how it works. As for the listener,
yeah.
follow the energy.
Okay.
Usually there's one need right now that is inspires you, excites you. It says, oh my gosh, I want that. It feels so good. I know it. I want that. Pulls you forward. Usually there's one need that brings sorrow, regret. That thing, I've lost that. I don't even know it, but it brings sense of sadness to you.
Yeah.
And usually there's a need that is a source of stability, your foundation.
Yeah.
For example, for me right now, the need that calls me is I soar. Because the work that I do, I believe in it. I've seen the power of it. And I'm in the space of fixing a scientific gap that we have, that what do people really need? So that pulls me forward. The one that gives me angst and says, oh my gosh, I have work to do is I make, because I'm really building a new way of therapy.
Yeah.
And I don't have much precedent or role models. I need to build a model, networking, how much do I charge, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm thinking, thank you. I will figure it out. I talk to other people who are smarter than me, figure it out. The one that gives me stability is I belong with my wife, with my son, with my golden retriever, with my neighbors. It wasn't like this, but I have a base of connection that makes me feel stable and
Yeah.
hopeful.
Yeah, that's super important. So how does this translate for trauma survivors who have been through breaches of trust with
Yeah.
caregivers, where they've been, systematically taught that they do not matter. They've
Yeah,
had to
yeah,
kind of self-abandon to keep themselves safe.
yeah,
Where does all that
yeah,
come into
yeah.
play?
That's great. So this is what happens to us when trauma happens to us. So again, the trauma basically means overwhelm.
Mm,
That there are things happening in life that your system of survival connecting, um, they get compromised. You
mm,
don't learn, develop the right skill.
yeah.
So when we have setbacks, hardship, trauma in life, what happens to us, those seven needs
Mm,
do not get fulfilled.
right.
They don't, the trajectory of those needs, they get minimized. And in the trauma survival, especially if you go to the space of freeze, we even stop feeling
Mhm,
those. We just basically go to a lockdown, emotional lockdown. So we don't know that we have a right to be I belong,
mm,
I soar, and other ones. So more or less our life trajectory gets compromised, gets
mm,
diverted, and gets held back.
yeah.
People who come to me with trauma, I do two types of work, which is very different than my previous way I did therapy. The first one is about doing with trauma to here and now.
Mm,
What trauma really means, this is actually going to the original design, especially when we are in the state of freeze, which can last a lifetime.
yeah.
Basically, what freeze means, your body is waiting to close an emotional
Mm,
loop, a response loop that you couldn't do anything. You were hurt. You paid a price to stand up for yourself.
mm,
So people who come work with me, I help them to ground themselves, settle in their space of connection, protection, and safety in the moment, in one space at a time, to feel your body, feel yourself, and feel like a sense of connected with me.
mm,
And in this moment of those emotional rights, which one is calling you?
yeah.
Which one brings you energy and follow the energy? For example, right now I'm working with a mother who actually just recently in December got married, that she struggled with trauma and PTSD, and her issue was about sense of I belong. The
Mm,
men in her life, including her mom, were very verbally and physically abusive, so she could not trust other person to open up and really open up her heart.
yeah.
Wonderful professional and as a teenager. So part of that was, how do I love? How do I, even what does love mean? What I shared with her when we go through trauma, love starts with loving myself.
Mm, yeah.
Loving myself, look at your hand, look at your face. You're drinking a cup of tea. That enjoy that tea so as it goes through your lips, through your throat, to your belly, that the sense of joy, sense of, satisfaction, that I have certain joy right here,
Mm,
right now. And as you try to go see her husband right now, her husband, her fiance at that point, you want to dress up for yourself. How
mm,
do you want to look beautiful for yourself
mm,
as a way to bring a sense of joy for yourself, and then invite your fiance to see you and connect with you.
mm,
So it's bringing, erecting your sense of boundaries. I'm
mm,
good.
yeah.
I'm beautiful. I'm whole. I can enjoy myself. And gradually inviting the fiance to the vow and having a marriage and build a relationship.
Mm,
So trauma robs us of our boundaries,
yeah.
of feeling that I have all of those, and you feel them one breath at a time,
Mm,
one moment at a time. So you experience it, feels good, then you do the next thing, the next thing.
and as you're healing those, are you opening the doors for healing for the other ones? Does that ever happen automatically? Another one will automatically heal because you've worked through
It
one.
does, it does, it does. And in fact, several things happen as you start, which always I see it as a sacred work. As a person goes through the healing, it's almost like a veil is lifted. They realize
Mm,
that, oh my gosh, the reason I've been like this, my mom was like that,
yeah.
my grandma was like that. Going to the work you're talking about, family systems, that
Yeah.
there's a system that kept me like this.
Right. Yeah.
So one of the first thing, and I'm sure you experienced this, and the clients who've done this work, once you do this work, you'll learn to say a lot of no. That's not okay. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You're not invited to my, to Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah.
But you are invited, but not you. So people create new boundaries. And then as people start to see those emotional rights, they go, what else do I need to do?
Mm.
What is there to do? For example, with this client, the next one was I am.
Yeah.
People loved her,
Yeah.
want to be around her because she had become a pleaser.
Yeah.
And her voice saying that, I said yes to a lot of things, including professional work, and people start to take advantage of that.
Right.
What is my truth? What are my values? How do I hold boundaries without really creating, especially in the professional setting, you don't want to study and says, what the heck happened to you?
Right.
That there's a way you need to be diplomatic, that you create an adjustment to your new you. And
Mm.
other things happen there is that the journey of healing, as you know, it's not a linear upward. You go
Right.
forward, you stumble, you do something, has behaviors keep coming up, but the loop is less deep,
Yeah.
and you come out of it faster. So there are a number of times I would get WhatsApp says, "Oh my gosh, I just messed up. I lashed out at a coworker." Say that it's okay.
Yeah.
One thing you can consider, go
Yeah.
apologize,
Yeah.
own it up, and say, what can we do to recourse again? Just go there and we can recourse forever.
Mm. Yeah.
Making mistake is human. Everybody makes mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say it's kind of like a backwards tornado, right? Like it's kind of
Yeah, yeah,
you're here, you're so in the middle of the storm, but then
yeah,
every time you're still making the same loop around the same maybe problem or the same trigger, but every
yeah,
time it widens and it brings
yeah.
you more expansion, you're able to see
Yes,
it from a different perspective. So,
that's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah, I
That's right.
can relate to that. I love that. When you're talking about recreating the narrative, that's so important to do. It's a lot of what I do with my clients. Is there another way to think about that? Or what is that place in you that where did you learn that story? How did you even get to know that story? Why is recreating your narrative and reshaping it so important?
Yeah. So what I learned going to my own childhood, I family of six. I was a very different kid. I was a kid that, as I mentioned, Curious George.
Yeah.
I was always in trouble because I asked the question I wasn't supposed to ask. I would open the door I wasn't supposed to. I go to the attic I wasn't supposed to go pick up an animal and get bitten by a rat or a snake I wasn't supposed to do. I just want to know, what is this snake going to do? So there were a lot of no, 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 and later on turned to shaming, humiliation, physical punishment. So I learned the narrative: I'm bad. I'm not smart. I'm the embarrassment to my family. And in fact, when I went to school, then early in primary years, I was a failing student, spent most of my time in principal's office.
Yeah.
There were some teacher, they saw something in me, they tutored me, and suddenly I would become a top student in my district. So people thought I was cheating. So the narrative was, I'm a failure. People have told me, Ardeshir, you will go nowhere in life. You're a loser,
Yeah.
your parents. So as I start to do the work,
Yeah.
my own healing, the stayed with me all through the adult years. And so I was pushing hard to prove that I can get successful. I can become a vice president. I can get the bonus. But deep down, I was empty. Nothing was fulfilling me. As I did my work, I realized I was responding to narrative: I'm broken,
Yeah.
I'm good,
Yeah.
I have no feeling, and if I'm left alone, I will mess things up. I'm like a dynamite ready to fuse go on any second. When I saw that, I learned that my narrative was I was a very curious kid from the beginning. What I needed was to be channeled,
Yeah.
to be guided. Give me assignment, give me experiments, versus control me.
Yeah.
When I saw that my narrative was by nature, I'm a learning creature,
Mm.
unleash that. So to this day, I'm a therapist, but also I'm a behavioral researcher. And I'm thinking, channel it.
Yeah.
So you don't see around me, I'm always learning, about 3, 4 hours a day because I have a high need for learning, figuring out,
Yeah.
and I numbed myself that I need to do that. So in the world of work, once I did that, of being in business transformation, I
Mm.
was assigned to be in R&D, new product orientation, that I could experiment around what's around the bend.
Yeah.
Because my narrative was, by nature, I'm a figuring out kind of a creature.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with me. And in a job, a management job, I will fail miserably. Don't put me there. So just if learning how am I wired,
Yeah.
honor it and unleash that.
Yeah.
Having said that, the ghost of the past every now and then comes up. I mean, I make mistakes. I stumble a lot and says,
Yeah.
oh, those narratives come back, says, what were you thinking, you loser? I'm just saying, thank you, mom. Thank you, grandma.
Mm.
I honor that,
Yeah.
but I'm not that anymore. I'm
Right.
not that. I'm going to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. It brings the power back to yourself
That right
when
here,
you,
right now.
yeah, when you're re-narrating the story from your own view, as if
Yeah,
you know your own child, well, you would help a child channel that instead of control it.
that's right.
I love that
Yeah,
visual. That's a great
yeah,
visual. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a lovely conversation. I want to honor
yeah,
your time here today. But before we close out, I'm just super curious. We always like to focus on resources. So I'm curious as to what you're going to say because you have so many different modalities and things, but you've kind of created your own. But in your own personal healing journey, what
yeah.
were some of the most useful resources for you?
Great, thank you so much. There are the two scholars and one author that they had very impactful influence on me. One is Peter Levine.
Yeah.
He's the father of American somatic experiencing, and in fact, I was trained by Peter Levine about somatic experiencing.
Mm.
The great scholar, and so he's about how do you read body? Like how do we get all impacted when we go through the trauma and our body and the freeze and how we come out of that. So I
Yeah.
brought that a lot to my work and the work of Gabor Mate, that
Yeah.
early trauma experiences, how they shape us in future illnesses, behaviors, and complications.
Yeah.
Like some of my recent clients have been the women with breast cancer,
Mm.
and they gone through healing chemotherapy and double mastectomy, and they when they read my post, they said that there's a lot of burning and anger and hurt inside me. How do I heal that part?
Right.
So I
Right.
work with them about there's an element emotional, basically clearing house you need to do as you do your physical health.
Wow.
The other book is called Lost Connections
Okay.
by Johan Hari,
Okay.
British journalist, and he talks about the depression is not what happens inside our mind. Depression is what happens, our connection to the world around
Mm.
us. And those really been very helpful to me in terms of my own thinking. For those of you who follow me tomorrow on LinkedIn, I'm active. In fact, I'm posting on LinkedIn a post, and in fact, Sarah, I will send it to you.
Yeah.
Is about 10 contemporary trauma influencers
Yeah.
that so besides all those gurus that I talked about, there are 10 individuals that have been following them, and they are cool people like everyday life.
Wow.
What does trauma look like when you're cooking, when you go shopping, and you're like,
Yeah.
I definitely send it to you because there are people who are doing good work
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
everyday life with
Mm.
trauma, and I want to really bring headlights on them. Let's honor these people. They're
Yeah.
wonderful individuals.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you for that. I will have that all linked up below along with your books. Tell people
Yeah.
where they can find you, where can they see more of your work and reach out to you.
Thank you. One is that go online and do ardeshirmehran.com. You go to my website and you will see around me and my own manifesto, which starts say that depression is a lie.
Yeah.
Depression is a facade. That's the reason depression cannot be healed. I went to a number of psychologists because you need to go to the source, those rights.
Yeah.
And you get to hear my podcast, my post. I have a post about the trauma, what actually is trauma.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And I am active on LinkedIn. And very soon, later this week, I'll be active a lot on Instagram. And you will
Nice.
get to see my face to bring my work to the world.
Beautiful. Excellent. Ardeshir, thank you again so much for your time, for your space. And I look forward to maybe having you back on again. We'll
Thank
see
you. I would
how
love
many
it.
more topics we come forward with. It's been a great
Absolutely.
conversation. I appreciate it's definitely a fresh perspective for people to really think about. And I think
Yeah.
you're right on target with recreating narratives being
Yeah.
super important and
Yeah.
recognizing that there's parts of you that are they're ready for change,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if as a whole you don't recognize it yet, but they're crying out, looking for
That's
that
right.
change. So I really
That's right.
appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time. You have a great
Thank
rest of
you.
your day.
You too. Thank you. And Happy New Year to you.
Yes. Happy 2024. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to or watching this episode of the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow. For any information that was discussed in this podcast episode, check out the show notes below. Until next time, be well.